I knew it. I knew it. Dang.
Yes,
Yes, sir. Bro.
Hey man, say man, what's good with y'all boys? Today we in Haikyuu Legends with it, and as you read by the title, we're going to be doing a setter's guide. It's going to be covering everything that you need to know about setting. Let's get into it. Alright, so when you're setting, one thing that's going to be really important to get down is knowing the different types of ways to give the ball trajectory. And there's a couple of ways, right? As a setter, you can do your regular set. Now this is going to give it forward momentum. You can do the dive, which is going to give it just straight up and down. And you can also do air sets, which will make it more controlled to a certain direction. Now I believe that depending on where the ball is, you're going to want to do different things. If the ball is really far towards the back, you're definitely going to be wanting to go for a dive. That way they have a much easier time just lining themselves up for it. And since there's a lot of room for error from the back when it comes to doing spikes, you really want it to be something easy to hit. Sets, when you're trying to move the ball around the court, can be good if you're trying to get it to a specific person. But honestly, I still would have to put dives as a solid option anywhere. Despite being a setter, diving is going to be one of your mainly used assets, because not a lot of spikers are going to be good at the start of like their journey when it just comes to spiking anything that has any sort of momentum. You really have to get used to it, and also just recognizing what type of momentum it has, whether it be sideways, whether it be forwards, backwards. It's going to be hard to catch on it at first, and since everybody has different set heights, you're really going to have to adjust to it as a spiker.
I will say, as a spiker, and a good one at that, on my beginning journey, and even now, sometimes seeing somebody just dive is just really refreshing. Because it is straight up, there's no momentum, and it feels like, I don't know what it is, but the dive is always in the right position to get a really easy spike. And so it's just really nice for a spiker to be able to aim it perfectly, and just give them a breather, because it can be tough always being on the side of always having to be ready for every shot, or every set, no matter like how wrong the set is. Or how right the set is, because sometimes we're just not prepared for the certain sets. We're not ready.
The next thing I want to be covering is the air sets. Now, a lot of people are kind of confused on how to air set properly and how to get a lot of control on it. And I'll be explaining exactly how to control your air sets and the best times to use them. You really need to get used to deciding on how far you want the ball to travel in order to do good air sets to people. Now, there's two ways to air set. You can air set just directly up, just to make the ball easy to hit. This is basically the same as diving pretty much, except you're just doing a set. It makes the ball much easier for people to hit, and you can also control the height of it so that they can get it into a better spot quicker than diving. And then there's just moving sets. Now the trick with moving sets, like I said, is the height. If I do it at a really high height, you see it's about to go that far, right? Now on the next air set that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna be showing you guys how far it travels. As you can see, it still goes decently far, but you can tell that it didn't go as far as the last one did.
And even though it's not as far, the major difference of it is the height it's at. As a spiker, I've noticed that if somebody is setting from low, it is way easier to hit because it travels in the line that the spiker can hit it at any point. So it is way better to do, if you're doing a moving air set, to do one that is either at a medium to low height.
Yeah, it's all going to be based on where the spiker is that you're aiming for and where you are positioned next to them. And you'll get used to these the more you do it, and you just have to get a feel for it. It's not always going to be perfect, but as long as your spiker has a general idea what you're going for, they should be able to adjust. And to give them the best idea, one of the things that I tell all the spikers I work with is to just make sure that they're standing behind the white line, this line here. Because if you're not standing behind that white line, normally you don't have enough time to walk forward into the ball, and you might end up having to walk backwards. And the one thing that you don't want your spiker to be having to do at all is walk any type of backwards when they're trying to get an air set. Walking forwards into it makes it much easier to receive. Next, I'll be telling you guys in what situations you should be using these sets so you guys can actually use them in practice and see them being most effective. Now, when you're going to go for a regular air set, I recommend to do it when the ball is right next to the net or really close towards the middle. Reason I do it normally over there is because A lot of the time, if you do an air set on the net, a lot of people will assume that the ball is going over, and some blockers might get out of their natural habitat and go for a spike and waste their jump. Doing that allows your spiker that actually does go for the ball to get an easy spike over the blockers that got thirsty. So I recommend definitely doing it when you're right next to the net and the ball is just like floating over there. Now, the other time I recommend doing it, anytime the ball is just near the front, I definitely will recommend it, because it's just when it's near the front and it's not really too hard to hit, you want to just keep it near the front and give the spiker as many options as possible when it comes to the angles that they can go for. Now, if there's a block fest going on in the middle of the court, I would recommend that you go for a air set that's going to go directional. And with this air set that's going directional, your main focus is trying to get the ball towards the left or the right side of the court. That way that the blockers that are in the middle have a much harder time dealing with the ball, and it's all going to be up to the libero to recover it. And I think the last thing that I really want to go over is exactly how to be aiming your air sets. A lot of people get confused about this part. You only want to use your W key when you're aiming an air set. And the reason that this is because air sets aren't locked to your rotation like spikes are. Air set is all about camera angle. So if you move your camera behind you and you air set, it will do a backward set like you just seen. You don't have to hold the S key and keep your camera in the same position and just hope. You actually can just hold W and aim exactly wherever you want. And a lot of people, they mess up air sets because they believe that they have to hold certain keys after jumping it is based on your initial position. No, it's not like that. You actually get a lot more control than you would think. So definitely use that to your advantage. Using the way that you look and hold your camera, then also you can really get into your bag with it. If you jump while facing the court side, when you're trying to do a set, a lot of people would think that you're going for a spike. So by doing that, and then you do an air set, you get a lot of the blockers already jumping. For example, here, I jump here looking that way, and then I can set over there. A lot of people have already jumped trying to get to me, and that allows my spiker to just have a much easier time to get the ball over the net. But yeah, I think that's all that's important for setting. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. My next guide will most likely be on zero gravity set and explaining to you guys how to use that as a setter, because I think it's one of the most interesting abilities in the game. And I'll see you guys on the next one.